إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، فإنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. عباد الله، فإن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله، وأحسن الهدي هدي نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة. I bear witness that there is no true deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That his Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his final and last messenger. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he should be praised, and I seek refuge in him from our own deeds and our evils of sins. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O you who believe, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Protect yourself from your wrath and the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and do not die except in a state of Islam, in a state of submission to Allah. For you who believe, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say the truth, say what is correct. And if you do so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will rectify and correct your actions. And whomever obeys Allah and His Messenger, then he has already attained the ultimate success. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the best of speech is the Book of Allah, and the best of guidance, the guidance of His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the worst of matters are newly innovated matters in this religion, because whatever is innovated in this religion will lead you astray, and whatever will lead you astray will lead you to hellfire. It is the first Jum'ah of Ramadan, and perhaps the best thing I can do is greet you with how the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would greet his companions in the month of Ramadan, as narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Muslim Imam Ahmed. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أتاكم شهر رمضان شهر مبارك كتب الله عليكم فيه الصيام تفتح فيه أبواب الجنة وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم وتغل فيه مردة الشياطين لله فيه ليلة خير من 1000 شهر من حرم خيرها فقد حرم. The Prophet ﷺ would greet the companions radiallahu anhu with the month of Ramadan. He would say, أتاكم, came to you, شهر رمضان, the month of Ramadan, شهر مبارك, a month that is truly blessed. كتب الله عليكم فيه الصيام. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made it obligatory for you to fast in this month. تفتح فيه أبواب السماء, the gates of the heavens are wide open. وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم, and the doors of the hellfire are shut and closed. وتغل فيه مردة الشياطين, and chained in them the heads of the devils and the shayateen. لله فيه ليلة خير من 1000 شهر. In this month there is a day that is better than 1,000 months. Whomever is deprived from its goodness and its virtue and its blessing, then truly he is deprived. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us that this month is a blessed month, meaning that its bounties are endless. There are many virtues and bounties that are bestowed upon us in this month. It's a month that is ever given, a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to take advantage from it. And those blessings and virtues of Ramadan start from the first night, with the many gifts that come with it. As the Prophet ﷺ also mentioned by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu in Sunan al-Tirmidhi and Sahih ibn Hibban, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا كَانَ أَوَّلَ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانِ. If it was just the first night, from the first night of Ramadan, إِذَا كَانَ أَوَّلَ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانِ صفدت فيه الشياطين ومردة الجن وغلقت فيه أبواب النيران فلم يفتح منها باب وفتحت أبواب الجنة فلم يغلق منها باب ونادى مناد يا باغي الخير أقبل ويا باغي الشر أقصر ولله عتقاء من النار وذلك في كل ليلة. The Prophet ﷺ in this hadith mentioned that from the first night of Ramadan there are 4 bounties, 4 gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the beginning of the month. The Prophet ﷺ said صفرت فيه الشياطين ومرضت الجن, that the devils and the masters or the heads and the lords of the devils are chained. That is the first gift. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make it easier for us to obey Him in this month, to facilitate this for us, and to prevent things that would distract us, and one of the main distractions are the shayateen, their whispers in for us or to us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chains them for us. One of the obstacles that usually is in our way to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been removed by Allah in this month. The conniving and the scheming and the planning of the shaitan that we always worry about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, I'll take care of this for you because of the blessings of this month. That is the first gift. The second is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what He would do for us, as the Prophet ﷺ said, وَغُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النِّيرَانِ فَلَمْ يُفْتَحْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ وَفُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ فَلَمْ يُغْلَقْ مِنْهَا بَابٌ. That all the gates of hell have been shut closed and no door from them will be opened. And all the gates of heaven will be opened and none of it will be closed. Indicating that the path to what is bad is completely shut from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The things that would lead to the hellfire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is closing it for us. And on the other hand, everything that would lead to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Jannah has been widely opened for us. That is the second gift. The third is that an angel, in another narration tells you it's an angel, a caller would call, يَا بَاغِيَ الْخَيْرِ أَقْبِلْ, or desire of good, approach. Because this is the month of goodness. This is the month of exerting your effort in doing different forms of worship. The angel is telling us and enticing us and calling us to do good. We do have an angel with each one of us that would entice us generally to do good. And here it is a caller from Allah that would call us to these roads and paths of goodness. But He would also say, يَا بَاغِيَ الشَّرِّ أَقْصِرْ, or desire of evil, stop, refrain. This is not the month for this. The shayateen have been chained. Do not follow in their footsteps, but rather take the other path, the path of goodness. Now the fourth gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this month is that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, as the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned, وَلِلَّهِ عُتَقَاءُ مِنَ النَّارِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has those He would free from the hellfire. Those He would free from the hellfire. And that is in every night. So for 29 nights or 30 nights, it is always a chance for us to be among those who are freed from the hellfire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is generous. Whoever He frees from the hellfire, then He would not enter it. What beautiful gifts do we want other than that? These are some of the bounties. But the month of Ramadan, its blessings, in reality go beyond this in even more subtle ways that perhaps sometimes we don't recognize. The month of Ramadan overall acts almost as a school, a boot camp, if you'd like, that teaches many lessons. I want, inshallah, to touch on 3 or 4 of these things and lessons that we can gain from Ramadan that hopefully would benefit us along our path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first lesson that we learn from Ramadan is that we are able to attain taqwa. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated Ramadan for taqwa. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. For you who believe, it has made obligatory, written upon you, fasting, similar to how it has been made obligatory to the previous people before you, nations before you, so that you would attain taqwa. We are able to attain taqwa in this month, in its most basic form. Because taqwa, what it really means is that you are conscious and aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you are seeking His pleasure and protecting yourself from His wrath and anger and punishment by fulfilling what is obligated upon you and refraining from what is prohibited. If you look at yourself or ourselves generally in the month of Ramadan, we find ourselves more desiring and more able to fulfill our obligations and to refrain from what is prohibited. In its basic form, we are able to achieve taqwa. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us through our own actions in this month that we are capable and that we have the aptitude and we are working in attaining this taqwa. And so we should never really underestimate ourselves with our ability to be among the muttaqeen, the pious. Because it's not as hard as sometimes we think. It has its basic guidelines that we do fulfill in Ramadan. And so that is one of the lessons that we can learn from fasting in the month of Ramadan. The second is that we are able to truly attain sincerity, ikhlas. When you're fasting, it is one of those worships, or rare worships, that really it is completely between you and Allah. Because only you and Allah knows that if you are fasting or not. That when the doors are closed, whether you eat and drink or not, you are able to achieve complete sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it shows you that you do, that you are thinking of Allah, and that you do have the ability to worship Him completely for the sake of His face, desiring the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, completely out of any distractions that would distract you. It is that worship and this sincerity is what makes fasting on Ramadan have a reward that does not have any amount tied to it. This is why the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned in the hadith that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say that all actions of human beings, كُلُّ عَمْلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ لَهُ, all your deeds and actions are for you, except إِلَّا الصَّوْمِ فَإِنَّهُ لِي, except fasting, it is for me, وَأَنَا أُجْزِي بِهِ, and I reward for it. In other hadiths, there are certain amounts, but for Ramadan, the bounty of sincerity or the reward of patience and sincerity does not have any amount of reward tied to it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards for it immensely. And so we are able to attain sincerity. One of the other teachings of Ramadan, which is a very optimistic and beautiful message, is that we are capable of changing ourselves. We have the ability, and we are doing it. We are changing ourselves. This is very important in a time where pessimism quite often glooms over our head when we look at the state of affairs of the Muslims and the many things that distract us from the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The many negative influences around us that are there, that sometimes we are pessimistic and we say, how can we ever change? But this month teaches us that we are able to change. You find the masajid, they are full. From Fajr to Dhuhr to Asr to Isha. There is a change. We find ourselves doing more good in this month than any other month. This is a change. We are able to control and suppress our desires. Even our basic necessities, we are able to control them and overcome them. The basic necessities of food and drink, we are able to control ourselves, overcome it, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't that a change? It tells you that you truly have the ability to control other things that are not of a basic necessity. Other sins and desires that you have. So the thing is, if you are able to control your basic necessities, you are able also to control things that are not necessity. Things that are prohibited. That is a change that we see in ourselves. It tells us that we do have the willpower and the ability to bring about this change. The patience to continually fast until Maghrib, to stand and pray the Taraweeh, to read the Quran so that perhaps we would have a Khutbah. So this is a change in our mode or a form of worship or our frequency of acts of worship. This is a change. Our entire day, the way how we routinely run our day, all of a sudden changes. So it tells us that we are able to change our own habits. Your pattern of feeding has changed. Your pattern of sleep has changed. Your pattern of worship has changed. This entire routine of the entire year has changed. And you are able to bring this forth. Which means that you are able to leave the bad habits. That you are able to leave the sins that we perform in the year in Ramadan. So we are more rightly able also to do it out of Ramadan. Because the Lord of Ramadan also exists out of Ramadan. The fourth and last lesson of Ramadan that I'm going to mention today, inshallah, there are many lessons, is that it teaches us that we are able to be people who seek the hereafter. Because if you ask your question, what instant reward do you gain from leaving your food and drink? The answer is there's nothing that is instantaneous. There is no immediate gratification. And once again, this is something that is important because we do live in a time where immediate gratification is something that is considered the norm. Whatever you want can be attained by a button or a swipe of a card. Whatever you're looking for is quite often in this modern time attained immediately. However, when we look at our actions in Ramadan, it tells us that we are seeking this reward in the hereafter. So we become people of the hereafter. We are looking to reap the rewards of this month in the hereafter. So these are four things or four lessons from the month of Ramadan that we can benefit from. But quite often, sometimes they are subtle, we don't recognize. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit me and you from this month, and make us among those who benefit from these lessons, and to take advantage of this month and do the best we can in it. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لكم وغفور الله. إن الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, in this month, we should bear in mind that we might think we have an entire month to do all these things and reap these rewards. But perhaps the reality is that they will pass faster than we think. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. These are a few days. just a few days. And so we should try to set a plan for ourselves so that we can learn from these lessons and get the best out of Ramadan. When I'm talking about a plan, is how you are going to attain specific goals that you think about in Ramadan. And I'm going to give you an example, inshallah, close with this. If your target is to pray the entire 20 rakat of Taraweeh in Ramadan, while throughout the year you have not prayed any nafil, then perhaps you need to set a plan to achieve this goal with a timeline. Perhaps by the last 10 nights you are already praying 20 rakats, which means that you have to work up for it. An example is if you're not used to or aren't able to pray those minutes of Taraweeh, is to put a plan perhaps within the first week, I'll be praying 8 rakats. By the second, increase that. And so by the last third, you would have about 20 rakats. That's a form of planning and preparation that we need. Goes the same with the Quran and all the other acts of worship, but also the things that we want to leave behind after Ramadan. It's important to realize that, similar to how we want to do things of worship, there are things that we want to leave behind. And so this is a month of change. It's a good chance. If you ever want to change anything in your life, this is the best time to do it. Or I should say, one of the best months to do it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in this month and make us among those who are able to attain His forgiveness. في أصحاب الخير. اللهم اغفر لنا المؤمنات أحياء منهم والأموات وكنا بقيت يا أرحم الراحمين واسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار واسألك العفو والعافية في الدنيا والآخرة اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم نسألك الفردوس الأعلى وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين قوموا إلى صلاة الله.